What's up, All-Inners, and welcome to another episode of the All-In Podcast, a podcast for casual leaguers. This is it. It's done. Summer Split over 2020. Your boy, the TSM fan right here, is so happy that we've made it back into Worlds, and we won! I mean, just all of the good things happening all at once. But, you know, I got so excited I didn't even introduce our co-hosts. Yeah, we got Kevin, we got Mitchell, we got Alistair. All their teams are out, so what does it even matter? I'm the best. I win. So this is my episode to gloat, and I'll just take it while I can because it hasn't been a good few years for us TSM fans. But I'm excited right now, and I know you guys aren't as happy, but what did you guys think, despite TSM winning, what did you guys think of just the overall level of gameplay? Because you got to admit, it was very interesting to watch games just as a fan, right? Right?
Yeah, it was fun. It was exciting. Was it high level? Not really, if I'm being honest. I do think TSM actually played the best all weekends, and the fact that it went to Game 5 against TL and FlyQuest was TSM actually making a bunch of mistakes. Like, it felt like they should have won both series, and the fact that it went to Game 5, okay, maybe except the TL series where Game 4 really felt like TL threw. Yeah. But the FlyQuest series, that should have been a 3-0, man. If I'm the FlyQuest fan, I'm being honest, I felt like that should have been a 3-0. So definitely got to step it up for Worlds.
For Worlds, yeah. I mean, and that's coming up on the horizon. I mean, they don't have that much of a break. But Kevin, you know, your team got eliminated by TSM before they even got to the final. So, what did you think of your team? I mean, I know obviously they didn't win. TSM played great, and like Mitchell was saying, it did look like TSM had the more dominant performance overall. But what did you think of your team? What would you critique about them? What was it about them that cost them this series?
I think for the most part, the team's biggest issue for Liquid is that they don't have early presence. Like they, in that saying that it's mostly the jungle plus their laners just cannot coordinate correctly. You've seen this team in multiple iterations, and it hasn't changed that much in the last couple of years. They're definitely competent. They've had good early games in the past. And just because you changed out your AD carry doesn't mean the rest of your lanes should just get worse. It's because they can't coordinate with their jungler. And yes, Liquid has won the most games this split that they've ever had in the regular season, but it is unacceptable how consistent they just throw their early games and just bleed out. It's the fact that they won 2 games was just off the back of the fact that they won 2 games was just off the back of just some superstar talent, not because they had really great early game plans. I mean, Alistar's going to get into this, but I will leave it at Broxton needs to either become a different jungler or he needs to go. It's been a year. I've given him a lot of chances.
Yeah, for you guys listening and not seeing the visual, Alistair just held up a picture that he had written the words jungle difference on there. And honestly, Kevin, you just talked about it. Broxa definitely did not seem to be doing it really well. I mean, his Hecarim looked okay. I mean, with the TF. But here's something I wanted to ask you guys. And Alistair, actually, let me get your thoughts real quick, just overall. I know you're kind of a neutral stance here, but what did you think of the overall gameplay? Do you have any favorite moments during any of these series?
I don't really have a favorite moment. I mean, I do appreciate that Doublelift finally actually showed up for games this time. I mean, it did feel I think it was Game 2 against Team Liquid. He was sitting there and just had very low kill participation, but he had 13 CS a minute. Just didn't have to do anything. And honestly, I think it's probably beneficial for Team Liquid to go through play-ins.
Yeah. Give them some more games.
Broxa to me seems like the kind of guy, he knows his mistakes and he will try and fix them. And I feel like play-ins are the right place for Team Liquid.
Right.
I feel like they probably have the highest skill ceiling of a team in NA. Except
they got the talent.
You could argue it, but
sure.
Yeah, you look at the names and you would think they'd probably be the best. And I think realistically, this is just the best spot for their chances.
Okay. Well, here's something I want to throw at you guys. We all know Team Liquid's style is more front to back. team fight oriented, and rightfully so, especially if tactical is like one of your, your best players on there. It seems to make sense. Whereas you saw TSM, they like to favor that 1-3-1 style. They definitely like to focus top lane. That was the name of their strategy. And like, for how long have we been saying this, right? Like, we've been begging the TSM coaching and analyst staff to let TSM enable their top lane, solo laners, whatever, side lanes, just so that they could play more of a carry style, especially for Broken Blade, who that's his style of playing, right? And you could see someone like Solo, who's more of a weak side player. He excels in that, and he does really well from behind, and he can, stay relevant despite getting all that attention on him. And that didn't work out against the series, but that's kind of his style. So what I'm going to ask you guys is, what do you think stylistically is the stronger choice? And you could pull in references from other regions if you have games to pull from. But what do you think is better right now? This 1-3-1 style, looking for picks. I mean, we saw a lot of TF, the Hecarim kind of roaming around, all of this stuff, or the team fight oriented front to back, because we see Fnatic kind of playing that style, and G2 more of the 1-3-1. And again, G2 won that series. So I want to get your thoughts on that, because I do think we're starting to see kind of these two styles emerge. So let me get your thoughts on that. What do you think's better, especially with the champs that are strong right now? Again, Shen is another one, really strong, can play weak side, can move around, can split push. So let me shut up and let you guys talk about that for a sec.
All right, well, I'll refer to. I watch a lot of MMA, and to me, 1-3-1 and front to back team fighting, to me, is like it's like your typical striker versus grappler. One's really good on the feet, one's really good on the ground.
Yep.
And it's not, because you take someone to the ground and then they can't get up, right? It's whoever's better at defending. It's not who's better at their style, it's who's better defending the other style.
I can see that.
Right? Because as you said Solo's a great weak side player, and I agree with that. But he also just got hard camped and he didn't defend it. He just kind of got rolled. And I think that was I think in situations like that, that's why TSM won, is because Solo was very easy to pick off very frequently on champions like Gangplank against a lot of the champions they picked. And I think if you put them against a team who's better at defending it, like a better top laner, then I feel like it could have been different.
So it's not about how strong the strong side is. It's about how strong the weak side is kind of what you're saying.
Yes.
So like,
I think it's whoever's better at defending is in the better situation.
I think there is a lot of merit to that. Yeah, like, because even though Team Liquid still lost, Impact wasn't getting nearly as destroyed as Solo was in the series, right?
Yeah.
And I do think the weak side was better. The real weakness, I think, for Team Liquid's side was just the jungle, right? So it wasn't the top lane. And then FlyQuest, very clearly, their weakest link was the top lane. So yeah, I kind of agree with that. I also think that both like styles are strong right now. You can do both. It just depends on how the draft goes, and you need to be able to pivot depending what's up and what the opponent takes. So like, if you have a Caitlyn first pick because they didn't ban it, well, you should probably just go front to back, right?
Yeah.
But if Caitlyn's banned and you get a power pick like, or you're red side, right? Let's say on your red side, you're more likely to be able to counterpick top lane or mid lane. So maybe you go 1-3-1. So yeah, I think both sides are valuable. It just depends kind of what side you're on and what the draft sort of looks like.
What I will say and add in there is, like, I agree on the concept of both are very valuable. My biggest concern is when NA goes to Worlds, especially TSM in their 1-3-1 style, like, these elite teams they're going to be going against, it's very hard to 1-3-1 if you're losing in the solo lanes. Like, lucky for NA and EU, the Shy and Rookie aren't going this year. But like, there are some real monsters coming from the other major regions. Like, Caps alone should be already scary enough, right? And he's not even the final boss.
No, like you got Knights.
Like, Knight is there. We've got like Zoom in the top lane, 369. Like, they're going to potentially break like some people's careers during this tournament. I feel bad for Spica because I think he really grew a lot in the last part of this playoff gauntlet. But I feel like against certain junglers in this league, like Kanavi or something, he's actually going to lose his mental. Like, we're gonna be blaming the TSM jungle at the end of this world.
Oh no,
and it's not gonna be his fault. Like, what are they supposed to do? no, doom and gloom aside, like I think Liquid in theory should have a good style because they were much smarter about adapting. Like I still don't think Jet is a bad coach. I think he did a good job. I think there were certain drafts that were bad, but like I would like bad after the fact, right? Like because the jungler couldn't play it. But on paper it made sense. But the double Jace games I saw from TSM was like, oh god, oh Lord Almighty, like that was.
Yeah.
They should not have. The first one I kind of understood, and then I was like, okay, that definitely did not work.
Sure.
We're not playing Jace. They pick it again, go to a game 5. I was
salty
like,
run back.
it's the finals. There's no more experimentation anymore. It's the finals, guys. What is this?
NA
so
Jace,
that's what I'm
man.
worried about, right? Because once the nice part for NA is like we all know each other. Like we play at TSM's played 40 plus games this split here. They know what the other teams generally do, and so they can adapt in that sense. But when you go to Worlds, like teams are like drafting cheese strats, they're drafting different metas. Like there's not everything on tape. So like I'm very concerned about teams that can't adapt on the fly in like just a very short amount of time. And NA or TSM especially has never been the team to like, the week 1 out of a patch sort of thing.
I actually have something to say about that. I kind of disagree. I actually do think TSM has been really good at adapting, specifically in playoffs. Okay, the Jace was bad, right? And that didn't work out too well. But I do think that like their bans and the way they drafted, and especially against FlyQuest, and I think against C9 too. Like, I guess Team Liquid was pretty obvious how to draft around, but I do feel like when you have Doublelift on the team, it does take a little while, but he does figure out the meta. Like, I've watched enough like Team Liquid videos of like behind the stages. Like, I remember in 2019 spring against TSM in the finals, Doublelift, like, actually they lost 2 games, and he was like, okay, I think I figured it out. You guys need to first pick me Varus, Tom Kench, and I'll just hard carry the rest of the 3 games. That's kind of what happens. Yeah. And I do think that TSM as a whole, very bad at drafting. For 2 years now, they've been bad at drafting. They do monkey comps. Yeah. If you let Broken Blade pick whatever he wants, it's not going to work out sometimes. But I do think that Doublelift, specifically with his immense experience, I mean, he's always like had very clutch drafts, I feel like. The first pick Senna in Game 5 of against FlyQuest for CL, I thought that was super clutch. Yeah. Not going for the first pick Ashe. So I have a lot of faith in Doublelift specifically because I felt like their drafts got way better once he joined the team. So.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I haven't been happy with TSM drafts until like real recently. Like
in
playoffs, basically, like, for what I said, I thank God no Ornn at all for Broken Blade. Like this whole, like I just really wanted him to play something that's more of a carry style where he can do 1v1. Yeah, he died a couple times solo trying to go in, but he also had some really good plays. And I think for a player like that, like that's how he gets better, right? He needs to be put in those situations where he can calculate his damage, calculate, when the team's going to have, their ults ready to save him, like a Senna ult or something like that, right? And there are times that he definitely didn't calculate correctly, but I do like the step that they're taking and finally letting their players play to their strengths. Now, when I talk about this 1-3-1 style, and yeah, they're laners when they go up in Worlds. That's going to be a little bit more difficult. But I do like what you said about Doublelift and saying that it maybe just takes him a while to get used to the meta, because when Senna first came out, right, in pro, that was like his worst champion, and everybody was like, please stop playing Senna. And I think it's more of the fact, like we've talked about how sometimes when he builds, you're like, does he even know what he's doing, right? Like, is he building
Senna?
Exactly, right? So I think there are some players who are great in the beginning that just know what's going to work, what's not. And he might be a player that just needs time to look at what everybody else is doing, understand how they're playing that champion, and then yes, it took a whole year, but look, by the time we're in here, now his Senna is like it's pretty good. Like it's one of his best champs. He's been playing it really well. So I think it might just be one of those things where, yeah, he just needs to adapt and get better at the champs, as opposed to forcing it when it first comes out, because I do think it just takes him a while. But I do want to say that overall, I thought that Biofrost played great. I mean, you could tell their laning was much better as opposed to when they had treats. And I was really excited to see that. I was definitely scared with, against tactical Core JJ, obviously. And Core JJ had Core JJ moments, but not nearly like as many as I thought, or I was scared that he was going to have. And I think that was really a plus side for TSM as well, that he wasn't able to make too many plays, roam around too much. But either way, I thought they did good overall. And one of the things that I'm seeing on Reddit is, TSM played more games in the playoffs than they did the whole split, right? And one of the things we saw, I mean, in the beginning of the playoffs, they lost to Golden Guardians. They almost lost again, and then just happened to reverse sweep, and at the most clutchest of times, seemed to get their stuff together and turn it around. They had a bunch of best of fives, so they just seemed to get better as they got more games in. And so I wanted to bring this kind of question and topic up, is what do you guys think of this current format still, when we're just doing best of ones? And I've always been a fan of best of threes, getting more games in under their belt, because just the more time you put it in, it gives you more time to get used to the meta, gets you more time to play together on, when it counts. Again, like when they're scrimming, I think scrimming is okay, but it doesn't really give you a true measure of, what's going to work. I equate it to like playing poker with fake money. Like, it's not the same, right? Like you take more risk when it doesn't count for anything. So a real game counts for something. And so I favor more games in the regular split, so that teams are actually solid, because whether or not your team won or lost, we can all agree that the playoffs had great games, great time to watch, just because people kind of knew what they were doing. So I'm going to get your thoughts on that. What are you guys in favor of, or do you think it's fine the way it is?
I would obviously love best of threes, right?
More games, right?
Yeah, more games. I think, there's a reason why Korea and China are always at the top, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Korea, not as much recently, but they play best of threes all year long, and they just play twice as many games than average than the American teams. Europe is obviously very special in the fact that they can get finals only playing best of ones. I think that's very unique, and they're just really good. But yeah, playing more games is always great, and it allows you to actually use your subs. Yeah. Like SKT last night, they dumpstered Afrika with a brand new roster. They put in Elim, and they put in, I forget
whatever the new ADC's name.
Yeah, the new ADC, and it's his first time ever playing, and it's because they can have a ton of extra games, a ton of scrims. Their coaching staff is high quality. So with there are twice as many games, they can understand, okay, this is what this player brings and why this is an advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I have a lot to talk about scrims too, so we can go back to that later.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, what do you guys think, Kevin, Alistair, schedules? Do you think it is? Yeah, I mean, I know more games might not be feasible for a schedule, but I just think it's not enough to me, for them to really, it's if we want to get better as a region, this is why I'm kind of advocating for it, because it's not just for our entertainment, which I would love more games as it is, but I think just getting more games under our belt will prepare us better for these international tournaments, because we'll have a lot more experience. So anyways, I'll leave that out.
I mean, it's I can't believe the statement that we don't have enough schedule, considering LPL's 16 plus teams, and they play best of three, and it's just 4 days a week. There's LPL, or 5 days a week.
Yep.
I forget. And I don't see a problem with LCS doing. We're already on 3 days, and the biggest issue in the past with best of three was not the format per se. It was because we had such absolute garbo teams at the bottom, Velocity, or I don't know, actually Velocity wasn't around for best of three, but teams of that caliber, no one wants to see that. No one wants to watch that.
Yeah.
We've had franchise around for 2 or 3 years, 2 years now, and I guess this is the 3rd year. And some of these teams are starting to make a name for themselves. For the most part, what's the worst teams in the league? It's on
CLG.
paper, it's Dig, Immortal, CLG, and all of those, and then 100 Thieves or whatever. All of those teams are all those orgs are still fairly recognizable names now.
Yeah.
They are either multi-org names, or they're they have been good before, CLG for League. I think the best three would be fine. I actually think that despite Liquid getting kind of destroyed because they had to play against TSM, who wouldn't have been in the format if there was single of them, I still think Doublelift was far superior.
Yeah, I think so
too. The drama that was in the series was so much more the comeback stories.
Yeah.
If this was a regular season, TSM would have just got 3-0'd. It would have been Clutch versus TSM again. We would have lol TSM lost in quarters, or whatever tier that is counted as, and then that would be that. I mean, GGS getting for it would be a great for new NA teams going forward. But honestly, like GGS on paper just isn't as strong.
No.
Like Haunter's not as good. Closer's fine. He's
Well,
probably
TSM ended up winning the whole thing, so it was very worse.
but, like,
it was
but they went,
oh, they're the best team.
yeah, for sure.
Whoops.
Like, but they also got 3-0'd in round 1. So like,
Exactly.
so I think it's just better. It gets rid of a lot of the salt that comes from like except for FlyQuest. I feel bad for them, but it gets rid of a lot of the salt. Like, oh, if we had like, a little bit more time to prep, or if we had just played on a better day, we could have just won it all. Because like you have 2 chances. Everyone had 2 chances this whole tournament except for FlyQuest. And the fact that FlyQuest got no bonus in the finals is literally absurd to me.
Yeah.
You don't need to get it like you could. You don't need to get like a whole best of 5 head. You could get like a free win.
Sure.
Make it like I remember Reddit was talking about like a best of 7. I'm okay with that. Like,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, like they go up 1-0 and then they just win 3 games. And if TSM wins 4 games, then they get it. Like it should be something like that. Like if Liquid got to this finals, Liquid gets side selection. Like what kind of asinine rule is that?
I know.
Like, as a Liquid fan, I saw like that's BS. These guys haven't lost a single series.
Yeah.
And they're getting punished.
Yeah.
It's like based on seeding. I'm like, what? Like
Stupid.
The seeding should only matter for where you showed up in the bracket. In the playoffs. Playoffs should be its own beast. And I do think in my mind, objectively, this was the most exciting playoffs in a long time. Not just because like, Worlds is more and more competitive and all that, but just we gotta remember this is COVID. This is online only.
Yep.
And there was that much drama and excitement. Like there was no crowd hyping you up. You had to just make your own hype. And I felt pretty damn
I was hype,
excited,
baby.
so-
I was screaming, man.
Imagine if this was in an arena. Oh my god, some of those games.
I know.
Some of that tactical play, I think that would have been
Well, that's going to
defining.
go down in like, playoff LCS history, right? Like
That's
just
going to be played in
shown.
montages for years.
Yeah.
That's like a memorable
Like
moment.
those Faker, those Uzi clips you just see forever. You're like, hey, NA talent right here.
Right
and
here,
then,
baby.
Ignore the item
The
choices.
itemization.
That'll be all forgotten by history.
Yeah.
TSM item coaching.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I long story short, keep double elims. You maybe tweak it a little bit, but the concept is just so much better because
For sure.
like Gauntlet used to be exciting for me as a super fanatic, but like the viewership was so low, and that was
Okay.
so silly.
I have a question then. Would you
Yeah.
rather have double elim or best of 3s if you had to choose? Because that's what the Asian regions do. They have best of 3s, but they don't have double elim.
Right.
They have the gauntlet. So
I'd go best of 3s. Whatever gives them most games.
I mean, TSM played more games than Damwon Gaming.
Oh,
Damwon Gaming had best of 3s. So, but they
the
went straight to the
LCK
finals.
format sucks. I actually
Yeah.
Okay,
hate
yeah,
the
yeah.
LCK
that
I hate
playoff
the
format.
LCK.
You
format.
actually sit in the finals for getting first seed. That's BS.
Yeah, I don't like that.
we could have had C9 like on the second tier there,
Yeah.
or like oh god no.
Yep.
End it all. I would rather have double elims in playoffs because to me playoffs is what matters at the end of the day, and if you like deserve to win, you'll play enough games. Like I mean, worst case you play 6 games, which
Yeah.
isn't great, but like if you got first in the regular split and you went 3-0 3-0, like all right, bro,
Yeah.
good luck at Worlds, you won
Sure.
it. I don't need
You-
to see the slaughter.
Exactly.
And if you're like almost good enough during the regular season, like TSM was 3rd or 4th, 3rd.
They're 5th. No, they're 4th.
They're 4th. They're 4th. They're just right behind FlyQuest.
4th. Yeah. They're 4th.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
And
I bet.
if you're like that, then like good shit. Like
Yeah.
I mean, if you prove yourself, you go through the lower bracket. They did the most games they needed, and they were important games. Like the problem is like regular season NA culture wise, regular season are just throwaway games.
That's what I mean, and that's what I hate.
It sucks. Like, but it's just it's NA. Like this is how our culture is like. Like,
But see,
regular
that's what
season we're like, who cares? It was regular season. If you
and
lose and if you win,
this
you're
is
like,
why though. This is why though. Like I think I would favor more of the best of 3s during the season, right? Because you get more games under your belt, so that when you go into playoffs, when they do count, you should have had enough prep time by that point and enough games under your belt, enough reps, so that you shouldn't be getting your reps during playoffs. You know what I mean? Like I feel like you should have had all of that. Time to first of all, you've played your opponents much more, unless they were just always 3-0 or 2-0s, But I mean, granted, you theoretically maybe have more games against them, so you see them more, you know how to prepare for them better. And so by the time playoffs do come and you play them, you should be better prepared. So, I mean, for me, I think...
But the issue with that format is that we don't play a sport that stays the same all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
Good point.
Like Cloud9 could have played 100 games instead of whatever they played and been dominant all of regular season, last split, and this split. And like everyone knows what Cloud9's like. Second they hit playoffs, like on this new patch and the last couple patches,
That's
they
true.
were just not the same team. Like all that practice you got against them beforehand, where they were destroying you, making you convinced that Sven was the #1 all-pro team ADC. Like
No,
that was all irrelevant.
Alistair was never convinced.
I agreed. I was like, that's BS. Like
Yeah.
even with his first
He was
half
never top
performance
3.
alone.
Yeah.
Uh,
Alistair,
he
Alistair, what do you got to say about all of this? You've been kind of quiet over there, man. Like, what do you think?
Well, I see. For me, it depends, because if we're talking about what would be the best to improve us for international play, I think
Yeah.
there's one of two options. I think we could either try best of 3s. I will say, now that I understand the double elim, because I was confused at first, I do like it.
Yeah, I like it.
I do think it's better. But if we're talking about improving, like just improving for international play, I think we either need to play best of 3s to get more games in, more practice on the patches, or I think we need to have more rookies. Like we really do. And
Best of 3s would come with that.
Yeah, best of 3s would come. I agree. Yep.
Exactly.
more
I mean, we
rookies.
look at,
Yep.
like as you're saying, like Mitchell, as you're saying, Korea's always run best of 3s. LPL runs best of 3s. And then, Europe, they do best of 1s, but they still make it to finals. Well, it's also because they have their, like, non-Premier League. There's so many of them. There's so many amateur leagues. There's so
Oh
many
yeah,
more
EU
teams.
Masters is such a big deal. Yeah.
Exactly. There's all of that. NA doesn't have that. No one really cares about Academy. There's players like Palafox, and I mean Insanity's been on the scene for forever.
Yeah.
And it's been like 3-4 years, and he just finally got a spot in a bottom tier team when he's probably like he's probably better than half of the mid laners we've seen. Like why we need less
Phoenix.
imports and more rookies.
Better than
Yeah,
Phoenix.
exactly. Like, why is
Well, here's a question.
Like,
why
put
haven't we
Palafox
talked
over
about?
Crown.
Why don't we talk about option C? We're talking about option A and option B. What about option C? Best of 3s and double elims. Why can't we do that?
People
Come
would
on.
explode, man.
Teams won't want to. Teams are too lazy.
Come on.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
The NA players, I promise you, the NA players would say that's too much. We
Yep.
would burn out. And
Yep.
then literally,
I
you don't even need
agree.
a point.
They complain about the minor things, so they don't have to play. Like they don't want to play solo queue. They get paid $400,000
got
a year, but they
to
don't
be
even try. Like,
kidding me.
oh no,
I
have
want it.
70
I
ping.
want
Yeah,
it.
it's
I want
annoying,
best of
but
3s
who
double
cares?
limb. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
okay,
I
so-
agree.
They won't do it.
Look,
They
option
won't.
3,
100%
option C. We'll sign a petition. Change.org. Okay. Go.
Okay, I got option D. Okay,
Oh,
option
okay.
D.
What
So I've actually thought about this for a while. So
Alright.
every team plays each other twice in the regular season, right?
Okay.
One best of 3, one best of 1.
Okay.
So you split it up. It would make the regular season feel less stale. So like in one weekend, you could have you play 8 games, right? Or no, 10 games? 10 games. Yikes,
Yeah,
math.
it's usually 10
play-
games. Yeah.
You can play 10 games, right? Over 3 days. Well, you could do it over 4 days maybe and have half best of 3s and half best of 1s. That way you get a bit more experience and you play each team like once in a best of 1 and once in a best of 3. I think it would be very dynamic. It'd be very it's hard to get into a stale sort of, it'd be very weird. It's like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen this weekend, right? This team's playing a best of 3 and then this team's playing a best of 1. There would be the downside would be it'd be confusing for casual viewers, but the upside is that it would be very exciting all the time, I think, which is cool.
Hey, look, man, like I said, I'm a fan of more games, however you slice and dice it. So I'm okay with that. But here, I want to go back to what you were talking about, scrims. Mitchell, I know you said you had some stuff to talk about scrims. I'd like to get your thoughts on that because, again, you're right, our game always changes. But again, I referenced the poker thing where, when you play poker with fake money, it's not really, you can't really practice that. Right? Like that's not practice because people are going to play totally different when it doesn't count for anything. But you start putting real money in there, people change the way they play for sure. And then it's definitely different. So let me get your thoughts on what you think about the scrim culture as of now.
So I think this year for scrims was very interesting, and it's one of the reasons why TSM actually just won the whole thing. And it was who were scrim partners, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once a team gets knocked out, they're done, right? They're probably like, I'm not scrimming. I'm going to go take a break. I don't want to pay my players anymore. Go home.
Of course.
Go relax. I'm out of playoffs, worlds contention, whatever. So once we got to the top 4 especially, right?
Mm-hmm.
FlyQuest and TSM were probably scrimming each other because they were on the opposite sides.
Yeah.
They weren't going to meet. The earliest they would probably meet was finals or like losers finals, like losers bracket finals.
Mm-hmm.
So like FlyQuest and TSM were probably scrimming each other, and Team Liquid and Cloud9 were probably scrimming each other.
Mm-hmm.
And like you kind of realize like, oh, well, like Cloud9 and Team Liquid, they both looked pretty weak
Bad.
in comparison to what you would have expected them to, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like Cloud9 especially, and I think like Team Liquid to a decent extent. Like their performance against FlyQuest was very disappointing, and their performance against TSM was a bit better, but still kind of disappointing if I'm being honest. Like Team Liquid should have done better this playoffs.
Sure.
So I do think like this, how the scrim matched up was important, and like what players are really good at scrimming. Like I know Doublelift, like I've watched so many interviews, so many VODs, so many YouTube videos, so many like behind the scenes of Team Liquid and TSM. Doublelift, like he figures out his lane opponents. Like Doublelift has been lane kingdoming and destroying Wild Turtle for his entire career. Like that's just a fact, right?
That's true.
So once he gets to the finals, like he knows Wild Turtle in and out. Like he knows Tactical probably in and out too. They've scrimmed so many times. He was on his academy team. He knows Core JJ in and out. So I do think it's like, you know, when we talk about this best of 1, best of 3 thing, it's kind of a bummer that World's group stage is also best of 1s. Because I feel like if certain players like Doublelift, if they were just given more time on the World stage, they would look a lot more even with the Korean and Chinese teams. You wouldn't have just like, you know, just getting like 2-0'd by one of the teams, 1-1 with the other team. Oh, you're out 3-3, right? Group stage. If they had a whole nother week, I think NA would have gotten out of Worlds much, much more.
Wouldn't it be cool if they gave them like, you know, because plans again are already like, you know, in a couple weeks, right? It's not much time there. Like, wouldn't it be neat if there was like kind of like 3 weeks or so in between where teams could just scrim each other? And, you know, I don't know how that would look like or how people would set that up, if there'd be, you know, scrim partners, people not wanting to scrim with each other. But, you know, just a way to get kind of games in before, you know, you get going. It's just a way to kind of measure yourself before actually entering the tournament. Because if that's like the first time you're playing somebody, it's a little hard. All you can do is look at, you know, footage, VODs. So
I think that's cool. I think I would just like it if group stage was longer, right? I think the groups are exciting, but what if like it was more dynamic seeding? Like you play in one group 1 week and you play in a different group another week or something. Like I hate that you always play the same 3 people. Like you get to miss out on really exciting matchups. Like
good point.
I don't know. I think we would see better teams too, right? Because while I do think FPX was a really good team last year, like it kind of sucks that IG got out in like semis, right? Because IG probably could have destroyed all the EU teams. They could have also taken out G2 probably. So it's like, we want to see more matchups, and it doesn't always promote the best team, right? I don't think so anyways. I think there are many times where maybe the second best team got out way too early. And if they had time to ramp up, time to learn the meta more, they could have actually won the whole thing. So, like KT in 2018, I think they could have won the whole thing if they didn't run into IG in quarters. They just need to practice the meta more. Like they almost reverse
There's
swept.
definitely some RNG involved in
you know,
that's why the group draw, like that's why they have a show or a special just on the group draw, because people are like crossing their fingers hoping they don't get the death group, you know, because it is unfortunate sometimes that, you know, when you see the groups drawn, that could be the only teams that you'll see play each other, right? You know, except for the 2 that make it out. So I think it's definitely something in the format. I don't know how feasible it is for them to change it, but I do agree. I think that's awesome. I would love to see, you know, teams be able to play, because this doesn't happen. It only happens once a year, right? You know, twice maybe if you count MSI. But yeah, what are your thoughts, Kevin, Alistair, on all of this scrims, schedule and groups? You know, do you guys agree with what Mitchell's saying here, or do you have any thoughts that you want to add to it?
hearing
I
Mitchell,
do agree, but I also think it helps when you get. I still think it helps when you get more players that are going to try more, because you get someone like, I don't know, I'm you get someone like Bang, right? I'm just picking Bang because he's been there, done that. He's won Worlds twice. He's played thousands of scrims. He's not. I could be wrong. I don't know the guy, but he probably isn't gonna sit there and try hard in every single scrim, right? But if you get, and I we need more rookies. This is where I'm going with this. If we have more players like someone like Tactical or Johnson, we're going to get higher quality scrims. We're going to get higher quality games because teams are trying harder and more stuff's going to come out. So I feel like other than that, I agree with Mitchell.
Okay. Makes sense.
I mean, I
I'm so
think
distracted by Megabyte.
I'm on the same page as Mitchell too, in that I think all these scrims are kind of worth the amount of scrims you've heard these people talk about kind of worthless. There's just way too many of these scrim gods that you're like, oh, this guy's just so amazing in scrims, and then he comes onto the stage, it's just like doo doo.
Nothing. Yeah.
Over and over. Like, I'm just sick of it. And like, why are we wasting like so much time doing triple scrim blocks or whatever people do every day when those could just literally be games on stage or on stage. Like, you replace a lot of those practice days that people have and prep days or whatever, and just have them sit on stage. This is the best way to practice. In fact,
Yeah.
if I were a player, I'd rather do that than a scrim block because it would be more interesting and it generates the league more viewership, which theoretically should translate to money, but currently with the NA production costs versus the amount of profitability the league has is probably still a net negative. But at the end of the day, like, especially for Worlds, like, I think it's a no-brainer. At Worlds, you should have more games. Group stage is the definitively where the most people watch until like semifinals, because like quarterfinals, like if NA teams are out, NA stops watching. A lot of NA people stop watching because they're like, oh, whatever. Or EU stops watching. Or
No, I still watch.
Korea
But...
stops watching. I still watch because I'm an esports fanatic. I'm just like I'm
hardcore fans watch. Yeah,
yeah.
but
I'm
the
like, whatever region
fans.
looks great, I'll watch. Like I watched all those Korea finals, Korea versus Korea finals / almost semifinals back in the day, and I was like, okay, it's kind of boring, but I'm watching because I love League. So more games in the group stage would be like a no-brainer to me. Like it makes no sense to me that they don't do it already. We sort of do a best of 2 in a sense because we have 2 games against each other round robin over like 4 days, but like there should be more crossplay. If you don't do best of 3s, then you should crossplay. Like it's a win for everyone. Everyone just wants to see these teams go at each other like an all-star tournament where everyone just battles against each other. If it's just 2 giant round robin groups, I don't care. Like just play against each other. Like I don't want to see, because TSM's in Group A and Rogue's in Group D. They can't get a death match against each other because that would be sick. But now we just have to bet on the drawing gods.
Just have to hope. Yeah.
Like, I mean, but if it happens, imagine.
It's hype.
I think it's just a no-brainer. I think there should be more. Like, what's stopping League from doing more games at Worlds specifically? Like,
it's the whole year's what it comes to, right? It's the culmination of the entire year.
Yeah, some of these leagues do so many more games in their like regular leagues, and like especially for NA where we argue like, oh, spring split doesn't matter. All that's like, why are we wasting all this broadcast energy and money and stuff like that on these games when we could just be at an international tournament against all the best teams? Everyone gets to go play against each other, and we get to just see them duke it out. It's always been the most hype. So
you know why? Because NA would lose, and then nobody would watch anymore.
We might not lose if we got to play more, though. You know, like
how is NA gonna level up if we just play against each other all the time?
Our region is the weakest. If just like, I really think, especially last year, right? Like, I felt like if Team Liquid had a whole extra like 2 weeks or an extra like whole set of group stage, they would have gotten out of groups, man. Like they went 1-1 with Danwon. And they had 2 close games with IG. Okay, one of them wasn't close. But I remember they had 1 close game with IG in group stage. And I was just like, it's just not fair, man. IG and Danwon, they get to play in Korea and China with the best people in the world. And Team Liquid is the best team in North America, freaking dumpstering in best of 5s, right? And it's like,
Yeah,
It's
you're
not
right.
fair.
Yeah, because they get to play, in different servers as well. Like, so they get more time with your competition, and that's really what it is, right? The better competition you have, then the better you're going to get, right? Because you're always playing against really good people, and that always comes back to the conversation of solo queue and like how NA solo queue is trash and all of this stuff. Where different places, that's what it is. And unfortunately, it's us just trying to figure out ways that we can level up our region, because obviously you can't change the solo queue infrastructure where we're at. It's not like we can, unless they can find some, underwater fiber cable, connection to Korea's server where we can have basically no lag and play with those people, then, it's going to be difficult. So, what I want to do now though is let's, cause we've kind of glazed over, but I don't want to diminish what FlyQuest has done, this year. They're a great team. They've gotten into, finals twice. Unfortunately, they lost both times, but considering, what they've done this split, or this year, in fact, I think they have a bright future ahead of them. I know Santorin talked about how he's lost several times, but this one stung the most. And I gotta agree with them. Yeah, I mean, I feel really bad for him, but this team has a bright future. What do you guys think they could do to improve? I mean, would you guys change up the roster? Because it does seem like they're clicking. It seems like they're all motivated. If you had to play GM here, what would you do? For me personally, I know Solo kind of flubbed up a little bit, but I think he's great. I think he fits in really well. I think maybe it's just a matter. I'm always a type of person who likes seeing teams stick to their roster, and build up the chemistry, build up their teamwork, and just get better as a unit, as opposed to always swapping rosters. Like, that's why I don't really like the NBA as it is now, because they're always looking for the super teams. I'd rather have a young team, build them up, get them experience, and then they just get better. So let me get your thoughts on FlyQuest, and just your thoughts overall on how they did well and what you think they could improve on.
Okay, I will go first.
Yes, the FlyQuest fan. There we go.
I am sad that they lost, but I'm kind of amazed that they actually brought it back, because I didn't think it was going to be a 3-0. Honestly, though, in games 1 and 2, FlyQuest didn't even show up, man. I feel like, especially game 1, they were completely invisible. FlyQuest, they drafted full scaling in game 1 and didn't do anything. Like, they had no ways to start fights. Santorin was on Graves. They didn't really have any hard CC. They had a Lux Kate bot lane and stuff. And it's like, okay, so your engage is Ornn ulti into Lux binding, and that's it. That's all you guys got. You got a Victor with his W. You have Graves with the smoke screen. You know what I mean? So, and then game 2, I mean, Wild Turtle's internet went out, and that game went like 57 minutes or something crazy.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
And like TSM had like a 15K gold lead at like 30 minutes, and then it took another 20 minutes, and you're like, what is this game, guys? Just end the game, man. Put us out of your misery. And then game 3 and game 4, I mean, honestly, game 3, FlyQuest, they were really behind, but then they got a fight and they got Baron, and then TSM decided to just split push against Baron, and then they lost the game. Yeah. So that was stupid. Game 4, FlyQuest like destroyed TSM, which is kind of cool to see. And I don't know. I think that like FlyQuest, they are still a really good team, and they could have won that finals. But they played way better and more proactive against Team Liquid and C9 than they did against TSM. It felt like they got to the finals and they actually started choking. Like, Santorin did not show up in the series at all. I'll just say that much. He was the best jungler for most playoffs, and I felt like he really fell asleep at the wheel.
Yeah, because Spica was, matching him.
He was everywhere.
There were a couple of moments, I would say, not even games, just moments that Santorin just was like, made some amazing moves, like I think where he was set jungle one time, and I think Broken Blade had gotten the flank, and as soon as Broken Blade jumped in there, it was almost instant reaction of Set being able to ult him and stop him from what he was trying to do. But I do agree that they have good pieces, but I mean, what else could I didn't like the Pantheon picks in support that Ignar was doing.
I kind of liked it. Okay, so yeah, I was kind of understanding the draft, and especially watching LCK play it last night. Like, so game 3 they played Pantheon support and they won.
It was game 4. Game 4.
Mm-hmm. So
completely destroyed that Jace. Jesus.
Yeah. So Ignar played Pantheon Support, and what Pantheon Support does is it's a indirect counter to TF mid. That's why I'm pretty sure that's why Bjergsen played Syndra instead of TF.
Yeah.
So it was like a soft counter, right? And and then you saw TSM actually ban it in Game 5 in the second round or something.
They did. Yeah.
So I do think like Pantheon Support is decent. It's good. I just think, you know, Ignar needs a little more practice. You know, I'm sad we didn't get to see his Rakan all series. I feel like he should have just played it. He should have just played Rakan, even if he didn't think it was that great. Because, he had a rough game. I mean, putting him on Lux is just not the way to go. I will say, though, that, like, Alistair, you always say Doublelift can't play Caitlyn. And it's just so true, man. And I really wish FlyQuest understood that. Because in Game 5, they had a chance to ban the Twisted Fate over the Caitlyn. And I'm almost 100% positive that Doublelift knows he's rather play Senna or Ashe than Caitlyn. Right? I'm pretty sure if FlyQuest bans Twisted Fate instead of Caitlyn, Doublelift still first picks Senna.
Yeah,
I think so.
I agree.
Or he might have first picked Ashe.
Not won a game that's been either not been convinced or he just hasn't won in a while.
Like, I think he won against...
had a definitively better Caitlyn.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So
I flashed for it. I was like,
he fucking two-shot.
That was
That was funny, man.
I thought the series was over, but credit to Double, he bounced back mentally. He's just like, I can't play Kate. I'm gonna let my hubris go and just play what I'm good at.
Yeah.
I really think the series was lost when TSM got Twisted Fate again. Yeah.
Yep.
For me, as much crap as I would love to give Doublelift's Caitlyn, as much as in depth as I'd love to go, I won't. Mainly because I think it's also a bad time for Doublelift on Caitlyn right now, just because TSM's been playing so much towards topside. Caitlyn's not a very good weak side champion.
That's a good point.
Because she wants to be pressuring lane the entire game, and if you can't really do that because you're playing weak side, it's so much better just to play Ashe and Senna, and I think that is part of it. And which, I mean, let's be honest, when was the last time we talked about Doublelift playing weak side, right?
Yeah.
So props to him for that, and don't play Caitlyn.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's why his Ashe and Senna have been perfect picks. You know, like more utility, and again, to his credit, he's gotten good with Senna, so that kind of gives him two champions to play, Ashe and Senna. So I mean, I definitely like that.
That's a puddle right there, but at least it works.
Yeah, it's not a pool. It's a puddle.
That's all the meta is.
It's a kiddie pool.
AD carry meta is only ever 2, 3, maybe 4 champions if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And the fourth champion, some like obscure counter pick into
it's
one.
Always Ezreal was the fourth champion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's around right now, no matter what.
But
oh yeah, this Jhin. You're right.
I think there's a lot of AD carry picks. There's at least like 5 picks that are good right now.
Yeah.
Jhin, Ashe, Ezreal, Caitlyn,
I'm not convinced about Ezreal
and Senna.
right now.
He's. I've watched at least in the other regions. He still looks fine.
He looks good in LPL.
You know what?
They've always been good at Ezreal.
What we didn't get to see, which I was really sad, was we didn't get to see Lucian because I know not the fifth game I wanted to see it, but I guess they were too scared to play
Cowards.
it or something.
Didn't pick TSM Lucian.
Yeah, I really wanted to see it. I don't know if you guys watch Midbeast, but he's a streamer and he follows he'll do reviews of like high elo mid laners all around the world, and he did a one on Bjergsen playing Lucian mid. And it just looked absolutely ridiculous. And he was really hoping that we would get to see it. Unfortunately, it was banned 4 out of the 5 games, and then 5th game it wasn't picked. But
last night, Kana's Lucian made that Volibear look like a squishy character. He just like literally culled down the bear from like 80 to 0. I was like, God, wait a minute.
It would be really cool to see it in Worlds because there's a lot of these mechanical.
It's getting nerfed.
If it gets nerfed too hard, it's not going to be played. But
it's getting nerfed 10-19. Yeah. Same with the Kali.
Unfortunate.
I'm just holding out to the point that I really want to see a Jinx Lulu. That lane just dumpsters Caitlyn.
You want Def to win Worlds. I get it.
I want to see a Jinx. No one plays Jinx.
I like
Jinx is so good into Caitlyn.
She's one of my favorite characters.
And I think she's good into Ashe. Because Jinx Ashe can't really bully her as much. I think she's really good in the meta.
I think we're going to see Lulu. I actually do think we're going to see Lulu.
Lulu's like number
played
1.
Lulu support.
Yeah,
and it's it's a really strong pick in this meta, I think, in the Enchanter, because it bullies all the other Enchanters and it like doesn't get destroyed by Karma.
Yeah.
So
I mean, in solo queue, it's like #1 support.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
Oh, okay.
I mean, yeah, it's like
Okay.
ranked #1.
That.
Yeah,
I didn't know that either.
it's got like highest win percentage now. It's definitely Lulu. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, Sona's. I mean, it's definitely not competitive, and solo queue's much different. But again, that might be telling of something. Hey, look, if it's high in solo queue, maybe it will be something in pro play. But hey, look, last thing I want to do for the rest of the show is just look a little bit of a look ahead to Worlds and what we got coming. So the play-in stage is on September 25th. It starts then. And so we will have an episode dedicated to, after the group draws are there or whatever, and we'll do a little more in depth of some of the teams that we'll be seeing. But just your thoughts coming in, like looking at different regions, what are your thoughts going into this Worlds? Are you excited? What teams are you excited about? Who do you think is going to do well, et cetera, et cetera?
So it's going to depend a lot on the group draw, right? It's going to, TSM is going to, they're the first seed, right? So curse of the first seed, Doublelift, whenever he goes to Worlds, he's first seed.
Is he making it out of groups this year? That's all we care about.
I will tell you once I see the group draw.
Yeah,
it is possible.
We have to see the draw.
If they get JDG and Fnatic, they're toast. No way. I don't believe it. I think they can go 1-1 with Fnatic, but they're getting 2-0'd by JDG. Third place. Sorry.
Fnatic might take a game off JDG.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
I think that's possible. So that's why it's like, I don't know, man. TSM, they always have the curse, right? Like even last year,
It's
Team
true.
Liquid, if they had gotten Splice instead of Damwon, right? The difference between an
100%.
EU third seed and a
100%
Korean third seed.
Yeah.
They're both third seed. One is way better than the other, man.
Oh, jeez.
Well, I mean, according to our scene system, EU 30 is still better right now. So
Yeah, I don't know. Splice though, last year was yeah, they could have
got a contract based off of that one performance. So and he was actually pretty good at LEC.
I mean, yeah, but like Splice, I mean, they had a slumping FPX and they got J Team in their group, right? So they just had an easy second place out of their group for Splice, and it's like, why are they the third seed and they get the easy group? Are you kidding me? They get the they automatically got second seed basically. They just had to beat J Team and the wild card. What? And then the first seed gets 3 actually competitive teams.
This is why I don't watch. This is why.
In quarters.
This is why I don't watch LEC though, because no matter what, it just ends up being G2 or Fnatic. Like it's just always the
This
same.
year, I really thought it was going to be
Alliance
different.
once.
Oh yeah, Alliance
but-
once, way back then.
Alliance once, way back in season 4.
This is for Kaboom!
Yeah.
And then they were one of the worst EU first seeds of all time.
You got
I'm lucky.
kaboomed! Yeah.
I mean, here's for the viewers who don't watch the other regions. This is an especially doomed year because LPL sent 2 first seeds. Like JDG and Top Esports, these are like first class teams. You see them, you're like, wait, what the hell? Like, how's that fair? Now, like they can still crash and burn. Like honestly, like it's totally possible. Like EDG did it.
Aren't like
2015
7
LPL
of
did
those
it.
10
LDG.
players, like,
Wait, what?
aren't 7 of the 10 players on Top Esports and JDG? Aren't they all rookies? Like 7 of them or something?
They're
Like,
rookies
pretty
to the
significant
scene, like to the global scene. But Knight's been around for a while.
Mhm.
369's
Yeah,
been
no,
around for a
I
while.
mean at
Zoom
Worlds.
has been. Oh, at
Yeah.
Worlds, yeah.
So
I'm trying to think if any of them have been that I can remember other than
Because they could
Low-
choke.
yeah, we were talking about this last
Kid has
podcast.
been.
Yeah, JDG.
They would choke if they were in an arena, maybe. But I don't know.
Yeah.
The online thing.
Well, they're going to be in arena, right? Aren't they?
Are they?
going to? I don't
But-
know
but-
how they're going to do group stage,
I don't
but
know.
I know they're all
Okay.
going to be in the same area. It's going to be
All of JDG hasn't been to Worlds before. All of JDG. So
That's-
Karsa has been to
Hope they
Worlds, and
choke.
Jackie Love has been to World for Top Esports.
yeah, so top is
I mean,
fine.
Top's fine. Karsa and Jackie Love, they show up. Every
Yeah, they
year.
show up at Worlds. They're like, oh, we got an NA team in our group? Okay, sweet.
Jackie Love like literally just pulls out Jamie's like, all right, let's go.
Is this flex queue? All right, cool.
Here's a hypothetical for you guys. If Doublelift does not make it out of groups this year, do you think he'll ever make it out of groups in his career?
Yeah, I think so.
You think so?
I think
I think you'll. You know why?
Okay.
Because 2021, FlyQuest is winning. FlyQuest is going to win the split. They're going to get
Okay.
first seed, and they will make it out of groups.
Yeah. I like the way you think, man. I like that. That's funny.
And Doublelift will go as like third seed or something, and then he'll actually make it out of groups. Because I actually do agree. Alistair said it earlier. I think Team Liquid has the best chance to make it out of groups. I just think it's gonna be they're gonna warm up in playoffs. They're gonna get used to the patch. Brox is gonna be like, okay, it took me freaking 10 months, but I'm here. I finally made it. I'm at Worlds.
I mean, some players only show up at Worlds, like no meme. Like some players really only show up at Worlds, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. If you made it to Worlds, I mean, just do well. Now, if Liquid doesn't make it out play-ins, I'll be kind of concerned. But I will say for the TSM fans out there, LGD is back this year, and they could very well lose again to TSM.
But LGD has Peanut this time, so I don't know about that, bro.
Yeah, and they did beat IG pretty convincingly.
They destroyed IG.
IG was looking pretty hot, and then LGD was like, "Okay, we'll beat you. Oh, we'll beat you again."
Yeah.
Honestly, the only free win that could happen might be the Suning roster because they're not that. Like, I don't know how they got third seed or whatever they got. Like,
Suning just is really good.
They're
Suning
really good.
Destroyed
But,
LGD.
They did, but I
three
don't
of them.
get it. Like, I've been watching them for a long time. Like, Hongfen's really good. I'm like, okay. The end of the day, like, LPL is scary. Why do they have 4 seeds? I don't know. That is disgusting. Like, every group's just gonna look scary. There's no like free groups just because there's 4 LPL teams. I really want to quickly touch on the LEC. Mad Lions and Rogue are the 3rd and 4th. Like, okay, it's G2 Fnatic 1st and 2nd. So like they're gonna be scary. But there is a world where you get a group with Rogue. Rogue still look kind of good, honestly.
Yeah, Rogue look good. I think Mad Lions is probably the weakest LEC team. They're very inconsistent. Like Shadow, if he's not on Lee Sin, he actually looks very weak, in my opinion. So
he had a couple good COD games, but yeah, generally I agree. Like,
yeah,
you basically like your easy group would be like Suning Gaming and like Mad Lions are like your top 2 seeds there, and then you join in and you're like, huh, okay. I'm worried for NA.
Winnable. Yeah,
it's winnable, but I think Korea looks. They have Damwon, and that's it for me. Like T1, I would love to see Faker against Knight. I like to see Faker against Bjerg again, like something like that.
Watch T1 run the gauntlet
tonight,
just
right?
Yeah, it is.
They play tonight. So what I don't know is there's only one Korean team that got in, right? It was Damwon Gaming, and they have the gauntlet now. So
DRX is in.
seed? Are they in just by points?
DRX is in.
Yeah, DRX.
So
they
what are
made
they
finals.
playing for in the gauntlet?
3rd seed.
3rd place.
Yeah.
Who's in the 3rd place slot then? Isn't it
T1
DRX
or
versus-
Gen G?
it's Gen G. Oh.
T1 or Gen G tonight. Yeah.
So T1's not even guaranteed. It could be Gen G again.
Yeah, because Gen
if
G
Gen
has
G
gauntlet
gets in,
buff.
we have a chance.
Gen G has gauntlet buff, bro.
They have gauntlet buff, but I remember Gen G in 2018. That was one of the most glorious runs NA has ever had in a group with a Korean team.
Yeah, and a
Although
free
it was
too.
partially because Gen G blew up. But
Well, I think it was it was the meta read, right? Like Gen G and Afrika had a terrible meta read, and Cloud9 just played 3 games of Lucian Braum bot lane. And just dumpster.
That was a beautiful year. Like RNG was hyped that year, sure. And I like RNG a lot, but like that was just a beautiful year for NA. I mean, let's be real. Like before we end off the discussion, if we are winding it down, like NA isn't actually that bad at Worlds. There are so many years where we've been like 3-3 and just like barely not made it. Like actually to the level of consist. Like yes, we say like Korean killers like Flash Rolls or whatever do well too. Like honestly, they like win one more game or they just get a slightly better group and like. It's not like NA is bad, it's just we can't seal the deal. Like, we've literally had a week where we go, like, 3-0, 2-1, 2-1 for all of our NA teams, and then 0-10. Like, that's not just because we're, like, not good enough. That's definitely, like, a mental thing or a coaching thing or a preparation thing. Like, if we had better fortitude, more practice, and luck, too, yeah, like...
I really think Doublelift is legitimately unlucky, man. Every year he goes his first seed, he gets 2 ridiculously hard teams in his group. Like
one thing that we have though is hope. We always believe in our region as much. Look, I'm a TSM fan. We've been believing for how long, and it took this long for us to finally win again in LCS. I'm gonna keep on believing.
I mean, you don't have Sven, so that helps.
That's true. Yeah. So I'm gonna keep on believing in NA because look, I'm a live and die with North America, and I hope that we will be able to do something in this Worlds. But we'll talk definitely more in depth on the Worlds stage coming up when plans are about to start. But the last thing we have to do, because this is the last episode of the summer split, is our predictions tally. So this is
Well, I do
only
wanna say one
for.
thing first.
Okay, go ahead.
I know we probably say this every year, but this realistically is probably the best chance NA has at like doing better.
Oh man,
I mean, obviously we say this every year, but like when we were watching,
we
when
do
Mitchell
say
and I
this
were
every year.
watching, what was it, FlyQuest and Liquid? We were saying like if FlyQuest plays this well at Worlds, they could take. It feels like they could take games off of like the higher level teams, and I feel like Liquid. I mean, again, you can kind of just look at the nameplates. Like they could do well. I mean, TSM. I feel like if they clean some things up, like we actually have solid teams going this year, and I feel like this is a solid chance as long as we don't just mental boom.
Yeah, I think we do. Like, this is the first time in a while we've had 3 good teams going. I think usually we have like one or two good teams.
Yeah,
exactly. Like last year, it felt like the only good team that went was Team Liquid, right? 2018,
Well,
the only good
Liquid
team
was the only good team.
Yeah, and then the year before, the only 2 good teams were Team Liquid and Cloud9, right? So, and then the year before that, the only good team was TSM. You know what I mean? So it's like we've only been sending 1 or 2 good. I do feel like this year we're sending 3 good teams, and yeah, we were watching G2 versus Rogue, right? And G2 was playing probably worse than they usually do, but Rogue was definitely like playing the best they could, I think, against G2 to take it to Game 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yo, FlyQuest could beat Rogue. Like, no joke. FlyQuest could beat Rogue.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I actually believe it. I think Team Liquid could beat Rogue, too. So, you know.
Look, I love hearing it.
TSM beat Rogue? You let that out. I don't know.
I love hearing it, man. Look,
No.
man, I believe TSM can beat anybody. That's just me. Whatever. All right, let's go to these tally up predictions. So there were 90 games that we could have predicted on. Kevin, I'll start with you. You got 58 out of 90 correct. Which puts you out of
positive.
64.
It's better than Spring Split. It's better than
64%.
That's all I know.
64%
Spring Split
prediction.
was a disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, Spring Split was a disaster.
Spring doesn't matter.
Spring doesn't matter. Kick W.
Alistair, so you had a total, since you came in late, you had a total of 40 games to predict on, and you got 26 correct, putting you at 65% prediction rate. Really good.
Cheating though, because he wasn't.
To be honest,
It is. It's a little late, so it's a little better. But the real winners are myself and Mitchell. That's right. We tied exactly.
What?
Yeah, we got 62 predictions correctly
Holy
out of 90
shit.
with a 68% prediction rate. So,
Hey, D's
but,
get degrees.
Yeah, you guys got a bunch of free ones with
but
Cloud9 and
I
Spring
will
Split,
say
so.
Mitchell kind of wins it all because this doesn't include playoffs. And if we talk about playoffs, Mitchell for sure predicted the most series correctly. I didn't get the exact tally, but I'm pretty like almost 100% sure that you've predicted. I mean, all the FlyQuest ones alone.
I wouldn't doubt it. If you just threw out a number, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds about right.
I think just the FlyQuest ones alone have gotten you the win. So I'll give it to you, man. Congratulations. You're the overall Summer Split winner of predictions.
Back to back.
Hey, man,
Back
that's
to
good.
back.
We'll
So
get
it is
another
Spring
one.
Split
A megabyte, bro. Come on.
Well, you know what we need to do? I think we need to make a bracket when groups comes out. You know how they do for the March Madness tournament?
Yeah.
We need to make a bracket for our Worlds bracket, basically. They do this every
Worlds.
year. So we should have our own. And
Pick'ems?
yeah, pick'ems. We'll see how it goes for the Worlds. But, so tune in. We probably will be off next week, but then the following week we'll record our pre-Worlds episode, kind of giving you more in-depth analysis on the group draws and what we think is going to happen going in there. But is there any last things that you guys wanted to talk about on this episode before we head off? TSM champs. I'm happy. Let's go. A couple episodes ago, I talked about Doublelift retiring. I'm an idiot. What was I thinking? This guy's back.
He's not retiring.
He's back.
Yeah, no
he ain't
way.
That's what
retired.
we were saying.
Okay.
I think it's good, as a Liquid fan, I think it's good news that TSM's finally back on form.
That's right.
Because there's only so many years that we could just have the hype of TSM without them actually having done anything in 6 splits or something like that. So
Yo, I gotta say,
it's good for hype.
How good is Doublelift, man? I said he wasn't gonna do it this year. I said his motivation. I said this time around going to another team, not beating his old team.
How good was Bjergsen? Okay, there was a lot of brag. This man literally had to it was like Rip Van Winkle. He was sitting there sleeping the whole time. He's like, all right, I'll carry you. And then he woke up
But
like,
he did show up. at the
He
end,
did.
okay?
He showed up
Even though
in,
Bjerg carried a lot.
2 or 3 games out of 5, I would say. His Caitlyn game was criminal.
But I like the crap that he was talking beforehand, talking about how he carried Team Liquid for 2 years, and so now he was.
I was like,
oh, he already talking.
he was playing well on Liquid for sure. Like we all give him a lot of credit for the Liquid.
I just
But
love
that
how
whole
he.
squad was like.
But I just love, dude. That's how you throw shade on your ex team, man. That's how you do
I
it.
appreciate doubles, and without double in our scene, it'd be a lot more boring.
Yeah.
Because Bjergsen's our best player, probably.
But he's
overall.
he's too nice.
But
He talked trash for the first time in his entire life. I think.
Yo, that was sick, man. He's talking
his
about
is like I don't care. Which
Yeah,
is like
yeah.
a good brand.
Jensen, I think he thinks a lot about the rivalry. I don't know. It gets to him or something. I don't really think about it that much.
that's
it's not a
that's
big deal.
gangster right there. He's like, that's ultimate disrespect where I don't even think about you. Like, who? What? You think about that? I'm just worried about winning, bro. Like that's ultimate
Okay,
talk right there.
Jensen played 2 extremely good TF games. He was styling on Bjerg in those games. We all forget it because TSM won the series, but those 2 TF
Whatever,
those
man.
2
He
TF
beat
games were the best.
he beat
Yes, they were.
TF
he
in
beat Jensen and he beat Power of Evil, the so-called Bjerg killer. So whatever. My
When
man
they put the
Bjerg.
stat on the page that was like 11 to 10, I was like, oh, they're actually pretty much 50%. Whoever wins this next game will either tie
That's
it or
right.
like
Yeah.
break.
No, yeah. Bjergsen is just
Bjergsen.
barely above Power
All the
Evil
way,
now.
man.
It's kind of sad.
Although Power Evil had to play for CLG at some point. I'm just saying, there's
Yeah.
some unfair team balance.
he had to play for Optic, bro.
He had to play for Optic, CLG, and ULL, and he was still almost even with Bjergsen.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Truthfully,
I'd-
I'm glad TSM won because we got good games. Truthfully, I don't really care about teams that win. I just want to see the good games. And yes, I'm disappointed
good
Golden
games.
Guardians or FlyQuest didn't win because I like watching new teams win.
Same.
That's why I don't want. I have nothing against SKT, but I don't want to see them win Worlds again. I want to
Yeah.
see someone.
They're not going to win
And,
Worlds.
you know,
They still got to win
good
tomorrow
games.
or tonight.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
IG
But I
or
just use that as
FPX
an
aren't in
example.
it, so we're definitely going to get some new blood for sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's
Exactly.
gonna make it exciting
Keeps
as
on
it is.
sending new teams to take the Worlds. Like the Worlds, it's crazy
I
because
know.
like when Korea was good, it was SKT or Samsung every year.
Yep.
Like
There's only
every
two
other
winners.
hype team, Griffin crashed and burned. KT crashed and well, they didn't crash and burn. They just barely lost to the eventual winners.
Yeah.
And then Dragon X always loses. Just loses.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
6-0 and to lose.
Yeah.
True combo.
As the last thing I think we can talk about before we end this is you never kick Doublelift. You literally
Never kick
never
Doublelift.
kick Doublelift. It's like I don't care. It's
Actually,
the statistics are too
Liquid
obvious.
went from 9th to 3rd. Wait a minute.
I mean that's fine.
But they lost. But they
Literally
lost.
won the split after getting kicked.
Dude, I don't care what your
that's
record is.
confirmation bias, and everyone here knows it. That
Okay.
was not a Doublelift getting them to first.
When
had
Doublelift
good
left,
games, but-
when Doublelift got kicked from CLG, he won on TSM straight.
Yes.
When Doublelift
True.
got kicked from TSM, he won on Team Liquid straight. When T
Wait,
got
no.
kicked from,
When Double joined TSM, he had Yellowstar, had a garbage
Okay,
split.
he had
Then
one-
they won the split
they
afterward.
lost in a 5-game series in
Okay.
finals. Okay,
And they looked like absolute crap with the MVP of EU as his support.
yeah, that's
Like,
his fault, bro. That's Yellowstar's
The
fault.
point is that he
That's
wins.
Doublelift's fault.
He wins on whatever team
he
goes
does win.
on.
At the end of the day, you don't get lucky that many times.
That's
You,
right.
it's not luck. Like Doublelift has NA down to a book. As like I actually totally agree. If you want to beat Doublelift and TSM and Bjergsen and stuff, you have to get rookies. Because if you're throwing Wild Turtle or
He
Sven
knows it
in the
already.
finals,
He knows it,
Doublelift's
yeah.
gonna dumpster them, man.
Yeah,
it's
he knows
it's
it.
too easy. He's been doing it for years. Like
Ah.
you can't throw the same people at Doublelift in North America.
I
Now
see Johnson on a
internationally,
better team.
yeah, like
Internationally,
Johnson,
if you threw Uzi at him, he just craps himself. So
he
it's
just
like,
he just boops
you
himself.
can throw
Even-
the same people at Doublelift internationally.
Like
That-
FBI and Huhi, if you put them on FlyQuest, they win that series, bro. That shit was too close for
Yeah.
FBI and Huhi to
Oh,
not
for sure.
dumpster
Wait,
them.
no,
Yeah.
and that's not even a question. It was-
Yeah, like
TSM would have got dumpstered.
yeah. So yeah, like,
Exactly.
you can't get rid of Doublelift. Sorry,
Hey, man.
if TSM ever gets rid of Doublelift, it will be once again the stupidest decision they ever made.
Again, you
It'll
put the
be when
two
Lina
best.
and Double break up. That's
You
all.
put the two best NA players of all time on the same team. It's always going to be magic, and I'm happy to
Smithy
see
on
it.
TSM win?
Yo,
When you get
I've
all
been
the-
No,
saying it,
Spica,
need it,
bro.
but
Spica's
it's
actually
fine.
looking quite good now.
Spica's
No,
fine.
no, keep
Yeah.
Spica, man. I love
I
Spica.
would like a world
do
where they
too.
have him sub in though, like
Yeah.
when
Yes.
they need it.
Heck yeah.
It's like sword and shield style with the jungle. That'd be sick.
Yes, I agree.
Dude,
but
they had to perma ban his Nidalee. That's insane.
Yeah, that's
Imagine
pretty
having
awesome.
Bjergsen on your team and they permaban your
man.
freaking rookie
Hey,
jungler.
That's
He
after
went-
the 23 ban debacle.
He
though.
went River Shen
And then
twice,
another
man.
rookie.
River Shen
Shen.
twice with the taunt flash into 3 people. Like, he actually taunted 4 people because he taunted through, I forget who it was, and then flashed into 3 people. It was so
Equals
good,
insane,
man.
man.
So
Equals
I
insane.
am liking it,
rookies.
man. Yeah, let him continue
And
to
they
grow.
rookies, man. Are
Maybe they
legit.
won't get rid of him this so fast this time. But yeah, so I mean, lots of stuff to talk about when it comes to Worlds. We'll get to that in the next episode. But again, thank you so much to my co-hosts Kevin, Mitchell, Alistair for always providing some amazing insight. It's been a fun split. I can't wait until Worlds. It's going to be exciting. But if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to email us at the allinpodcast, lol@gmail.com, or you can tweet us at the All In Podcast. But until next time, guys, enjoy your climb on the Rift. Try not to be too toxic, and we'll see you all on the next episode. Peace.